Hello, this is Mr. Miller. Welcome to video 1J. Today we'll be talking about translations. Remember, translations occur when an object simply moves from one place to another. It doesn't reflect, it doesn't rotate, it just moves. Another word for translation might be slide, like these kind of pinkish triangles here. This first triangle just slid down to this position here. All right, and this is another translation here. This red triangle moved to the right and up to form the blue triangle. That's what we'll be learning about today. So at first, we want to talk about finding the translation vector. A vector is kind of like an arrow. It describes how the object moved. So here we see that this object here, the original one is in black, the translated one is in blue, and we want to describe how each point moved. For instance, point B here moved 1, 2, 3 up and 2 over to B prime. In fact, all the points moved 3 up and 2 over. That's what this arrow over here shows. So there's kind of a lot going on here. It's a little hard to see. But this arrow right here, notice this red arrow goes from B to B prime, and it goes up 3 over 2. It describes how the figure moved. Every point moved that way. So we see A moved along the same arrow. C moved along the same arrow. Every point moves along the translation vector. Now, there's a way to describe the translation vector. That's called component form. So to do that, I'm going to do it down here. To write component form, we make kind of pointy parentheses. Instead of curved ones like when we do a point, we make pointy parentheses for a vector. And the first part we put is how much it changed in the x direction. So I'll use this one down here. This vector went over 2 to right there, and then it went up 3. So the x component of the vector is 2. That tells me how much it changed or went in the x direction. And the y component is 3. It went up 3. So that's how we describe this vector here. This vector, as it goes from B to B prime, we can think of it as going up 3 over 2. All right, so that's the translation vector. It describes how the figure moves. Let's take a look at this one. So here again, the original is in black. We have triangle DEF, and it got translated to the blue one. The question is, how did it get translated? Well, over here I just drew one of the arrows because I think it's a lot clearer. We only need to look at where one point went because all the rest went the same way. So as we look at this red arrow here, we want to think how x and y changed. So it went up 1, so right here, and it goes over 3. So up 1, over to the left 3. So I'm going to write it in component form. So I'll do it down here again. So remember I put my kind of pointy bracket. I'm going to put how the x coordinate changed. It went to the left. Okay, I lost my little triangle here. Alright, so as I go along E, it's the same as going up 1 to the left 3. So since we went to the left, the x part is negative 3. And since we went up, the y part, the vertical part, is 1. So this tells me that every point went to the left 3 and up 1. That's how it moved. So let's try this one. If I started D, I went 1, 2, 3 to the left and up 1. Sure enough, I'm at D prime. The same with F. If I start at F and go 1, 2, 3 to the left and 1 up, I'm at F prime. So this right here describes how we moved. So the first component is how we moved in the x direction, minus 3. We went to the left. The second component is how we moved in the y direction. All right, we're going to practice one more of these. Again, the black triangle, this triangle XVW, got translated to the blue triangle, X prime, V prime, W prime. Well, how did it move? How did X move from there to there? And how did V move from here to here? This is what this arrow tells me, this red arrow. Okay, so let's figure out what happened. I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went down 6. That's going to be negative. And then I went over 1, 2, 3. That's positive 3 because we went to the right. So the vector, let's write the pointy brackets or parentheses. And then first comes the x direction. We went 3 to the right. Second comes the y direction. When we went from v to v prime, we went down 6. So that describes the vector. That describes how every point moved. Okay, let's try a different sort of problem. Let's go here. So this is the problem over here on the left. It says find the image after translating along the given vector. So we're given the vector this time. And this tells me how the whole image or the figure is going to move. Okay, so first we got to figure out what our vector is doing. And it's kind of like almost figuring out rise and run for slope. So we're going up 4, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to the right 2, 1, 2. So we went up 4, right 2. Okay, so every point here is going to go up 4 and to the right 2. So let's start with P. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That right there is going to be P prime. Okay, let's take Q. Q is going to go up 4 to the right 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So that's going to be Q prime. And then R up 4. That's there, right 2. And that's going to be R prime. Now, it's kind of difficult here with this pen to draw in the triangle, but I have it here. So you see that this is actually the answer to the problem. If you look, P prime, Q prime, R prime, match those. So if we just connected these over here, we would have that. All right, and so this is the translation of the original triangle by that vector. Every point moved up 4 over 2. All right, let's take a look at this example. Right, this time instead of drawing the arrow, they gave us the vector in component form here. So remember, the first part is how x changes, and the second part is how y changes. This tells me x is going down by 5. That means we're moving left 5, and y is going down by 2. It means we're going down 2. So we have the answer right here. I'll show you how we get it. So if we start at P, we're going to go left 5 and down 2. X is going down 5. That's to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And y is decreasing by 2, so that's going to go down 2. P is going to be right there. P prime rather. R, same thing. 5 to the left, 2 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So that's going to be R prime. So that explains where these 2 points came from. And then Q, over 5 down 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. That's going to be Q prime. I can try to connect them. It's a little sloppy, but you see where this came from. So this is the solution there. So I showed you how we got those points. All right, every point moved along the same vector. Okay, what's next? We got one more problem. All right, this one, no picture, but we can handle this. It says triangle UVW has vertices at U 4, 1, V 5, 3, and W 5, 1. Find the coordinates of the image of this triangle after a translation along this vector. So remember, this -3 means that x is being decreased by 3. The figure is moving to the left. And this 2 means y is being increased by 2. So all we have to do is subtract 3 from the x coordinates and add 2 to the y coordinates. So remember, the vector tells me how it changes. So here's what u prime is going to be. U prime is going to be 4 minus 3. That's going to be its x coordinate. And then 1 plus 2. The x coordinate is going down by 3. And the y coordinate is 1 plus 2 is going up by 2. So we get that u prime is 1, 3. Okay, v prime. Well, we're starting with the original x coordinate and we're decreasing it by 3. We're taking the y coordinate, increasing it by 2. So I get that v prime would be 2, 5. Okay, last point, w. W prime, we're subtracting 3 from the x coordinate, so it's going to be 5 minus 3. And adding 2 to the y coordinate, 1 plus 2. And I get that W prime is 2, 3. So those would be the coordinates of the image. They all got changed by the vector. So remember, the vector is an arrow showing how the figure moved, and in component form it tells me how much the x and the y coordinate changed. Okay, it's your turn. Here we go. So on this first one, find the translation vector and write it in component form. So remember, you're just writing how the points changed. So I would take a look at C. How did C go to C prime? All right, over here, we have all the information in words, but we have a diagram also. Triangle ABC has these vertices. It's actually graphed there. If the triangle is translated along the vector V, okay, where would, I'm kind of covering up part of the question here, where would A prime, B prime, and C prime be? Okay, so this is the vector right here. And you don't have to copy this figure, but you just got to think, where would these 3 points go? What would be their new coordinates? All right, good luck. See you in class.